Welcome to the YouTube News Network, broadcasting live from my basement. Most YouTube videos are made in people's basements, so this is only fitting for YouTube. But let's talk about politics here. So there is a very controversial thing going on with this whole Russia thing, Obama surveillance, NSA surveillance, all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to give you a timeline. I'm going to kind of walk you through everything that's been going on and what we know and what we're still waiting to find out. So at the moment, there's been a lot of explosive stuff coming out in the last week. So let's walk through a general timeline. So it sounds like before the November election, the Obama administration and various agencies were investigating Russian attempts to interfere with the U.S. election. It sounds like, and who knows where this is coming from, and I guess my perspective on it was this. So Hillary Clinton had actually said that she was going to surround Russia with anti-air missile systems, which Putin did not like that because he saw that as a threat to Russian sovereignty and security. And so Russia was meanwhile working on ballistic missiles and nuclear warheads that could evade these missile defense systems, because the way that Putin kind of, at least as far as what he's communicated, is that he wants to feel like Russia has the ability to strike other nations just as much as other nations can strike Russia. Not that he wants a war, but he sees it as a necessary balance of powers in the world. So he basically saw Hillary Clinton as a threat to national security. The fact that Donald Trump during the campaign was saying, hey, like, maybe it wouldn't be bad if we got along with Russia. And Donald Trump wasn't like necessarily overly committing to Russia as much as the media likes to make it seem. He was just saying like, hey, it wouldn't be a bad idea if we gone along with Russia. And Donald Trump did praise Putin a little bit because, Putin does have a very high approval rating in Russia. He's established himself as a leader in the nation, and people respect him there, which Donald Trump did make the point that Putin is respected as a leader in his nation, and basically, I believe it was in reference to Obama was attacking Obama, saying, Obama's a weak leader, which some have made that argument. Anyway, so getting back to this whole thing, so there was an investigation by the Obama administration, various agencies, into Russian interference with the U.S. election. This was in October, leading up to the election, and it sounds like there's been different members of the Trump campaign, not Donald Trump himself, but various members that have been under investigation, specifically Paul Manifort. Now, Paul Manafort was a member of the Trump campaign. It sounds like in the past he has had some dealings with Russia. He has essentially been, as far as the whole Crimea situation and situation with Ukraine, it sounds like he was basically trying to help Russia as far as strategy or giving them suggestions, and is currently being investigated regarding that. Now, when Donald Trump and his press secretary, like anytime they've been asked about it, especially his press secretary, they're basically saying, hey, look, we built our cabinet, we built our office, our campaign, assuming that people were telling us the truth. Like if somebody fills out a form and, basically under oath, you kind of assume that they're telling the truth, because if they're not, they can go to prison and get fired. And so what the White House is saying is like, hey, we trusted these people to tell us the truth. Now, if they're not telling us the truth and you find out that they're not disclosing certain things on their taxes, they had secret dealings with foreign governments that we did not know about, then they basically will refer them over to the appropriate agency to get dealt with. So they'll get prosecuted, they'll get fired, all that kind of stuff. So it is interesting. It's kind of a dicey situation. I mean, you kind of wonder, with Donald Trump being, I guess, semi-inexperienced, you wonder how much he actually went through the rigorous process of vetting candidates and investigating them. I mean, if they filled out their paperwork and lied on their paperwork, I mean, was there any follow-up investigation to make sure that they were telling the truth or stuff like that? So maybe there just wasn't enough oversight when they were interviewing candidates and vetting candidates to actually figure out, how much, if there was compromising information on these people. But yeah, it's interesting. at the moment, it doesn't seem like there's any concrete evidence that Donald Trump himself was colluding with the Russian government. It sounds like there are members of his campaign that may have had some ties and will potentially be prosecuted. We'll see what happens. So that's kind of the big explosive story with that. Now, getting over to this whole wiretapping thing and Trump's claim that Obama was wiretapping Trump Tower, it sounds like there was some incidental collection of information by the surveillance community regarding Trump campaign members. And we haven't gotten all the details on what that is involved or what's involved with that, but it does sound like Donald Trump was briefed by members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, specifically Representative Nunes, about this situation, was made aware of it. And we don't know 100% if that's what influenced Donald Trump's tweet about Obama wiretapping Trump Tower. But it does sound like Donald Trump isn't completely crazy, that there was at least some surveillance or gathering of information, whether incidentally or intentionally, and it was by the Obama administration, of members of the Trump campaign. And so we are gonna find out more information in the coming weeks and the coming months, but at the moment, basically it looks like, Donald Trump isn't necessarily crazy in that regard. Now, there may be some misunderstanding or misinformation floating around regarding this. We'll get more information, but it does look like there was in fact some surveillance, and it does look like there are some members of the Trump campaign who could get prosecuted for very specific reasons. Now, and mainly it's this guy, Paul Manifort, who is under investigation. Now, there is ongoing investigation with General Michael Flynn, who the Trump campaign let go. The reason why the Trump campaign let him go was because he had talked to a Russian ambassador prior to Donald Trump getting in office and then lied to Vice President Mike Pence about that. And so basically, as a result of deteriorating trust between Donald Trump in the White House and General Michael Flynn, he basically got fired. And so they appointed a new national security advisor to take his position. And we'll see how that all fleshes out. But it looks like that's basically the gist of the situation with Michael Flynn. This guy, Paul Manafort, though, might be in some serious trouble, though, depending on what information comes to the surface. So we'll see what happens with that. That's kind of the update, though, as far as Russia, the whole surveillance thing, all of that. It's going to be interesting what comes out in the coming weeks and coming months. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe. We'll have a lot more content coming your way. Much more news, random stuff in the news. There's all kinds of explosive stuff in the news, man. It's just like controversy. It's like the most controversial year I've ever seen in the news. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So anyways, feel free to subscribe. We'll have a lot more content coming your way.